All right, let's talk cloud. Picking your platform is a massive decision, right? But just as critical is how you actually get your application out to your users across the globe. So today, we're staging a showdown between two of the biggest names in the game, Amazon's CloudFront and Microsoft's Azure Front Door. We're going to break down what makes them tick so you can figure out which one is the right fit for you. So why does this even matter? Well, because in today's world, speed is everything. Every single millisecond counts. Get this, over 65% of the top websites on the internet rely on a content delivery network, or a CDN, to make sure they're fast, secure, and always on for every single user, no matter where they are. This isn't just a nice-to-have anymore, it's absolutely fundamental. And that is the big question, isn't it? When you're dealing with titans like AWS and Microsoft, the choice isn't exactly straightforward. I mean, both of them offer incredible world-class services, but they're built on really different ideas. So let's break this down into 3 key decisions you'll need to make.
First off, it's so important to understand that these aren't just standalone products you buy off a shelf. Nope. Amazon CloudFront and Azure Front Door are the native front-facing layers for their absolutely massive cloud ecosystems, AWS and Microsoft Azure.
And what that really means is that picking one of these isn't just a simple technical decision about serving content faster. It's a much bigger, more strategic choice that's going to have a deep impact on how you build, manage, and scale your entire cloud setup. So that brings us to our first major decision point. This is all about the ecosystem you live in and the philosophy behind how it's built. It really boils down to one simple question. How do you like to build things? Unsurprisingly, both of these services are baked right into their parent clouds. If your files are stored in Amazon S3 and you use CloudFront, guess what? You pay zero, zip, nada for the data transfer from S3 out to the edge. And it's the exact same story on the other side. If you're using Azure Blob Storage, getting that data to Front Door is totally free. This is a huge, huge cost-saving incentive to stick with the family, so to speak. And this right here gets to the absolute core difference between them. The AWS way is kind of like building with Legos. You get all these specialized, powerful pieces, CloudFront for content delivery, Route 53 for DNS, a load balancer for traffic, and you assemble them into a perfectly customized solution. Azure Front Door, it's more like buying a complete pre-built model kit. It rolls the CDN, the global load balancing, and the security all into one single unified service. That can make your architecture a whole lot simpler. So you've got this choice. Build it yourself with modules or get the all-in-one package. Now let's see how that same philosophy applies to our second big decision, security. How do these services actually protect your applications right at the edge of the network where the threats are? Okay, so CloudFront takes a layered approach. Every single distribution you create automatically and for free gets AWS Shield Standard. That's your baseline protection against common DDoS attacks. From there, you can add on the AWS WAF, which is this super customizable firewall to block more advanced stuff like SQL injection. And of course, free SSL certificates are part of the deal to keep your traffic encrypted. Azure Front Door, true to form, follows that all-in-one philosophy. The premium tier comes with a web application firewall that's already built in and managed for you. It's based on well-known OSOS standards and even has sophisticated bot protection. But what's really cool is its support for Azure Private Link. This lets your backend servers talk to Front Door over Microsoft's private network without ever exposing a public IP address. For anyone building a zero-trust security model, that is a massive win. Okay, we've covered architecture and security. That brings us to our third and often most critical decision, balancing performance against price. How do these two really stack up when it comes to global reach and, the bill at the end of the month? Let's look at the numbers. Looking at the stats side by side, you see a trade-off almost immediately. CloudFront has a bigger global network with over 225 of what they call points of presence, or POPs. That gives it a slight edge in just raw global reach. It also has a really generous free tier to help you get your feet wet. Front Door, on the other hand, while still massive, doesn't have a free tier and it does have a base monthly fee, so the starting line is a little different. And this difference in network size really points to their core strengths. CloudFront is an absolute beast for delivering static stuff, images, videos, big download files, to a global audience at incredible scale. Azure Front Door, however, was really engineered from the ground up for smart, super low latency routing of dynamic application traffic. Think real-time APIs and interactive web apps. That's where it shines.
This difference in philosophy even extends to how they charge you. CloudFront is a pure pay-as-you-go model that's super flexible, but it can also make forecasting your costs a little tricky sometimes. Front Door uses a tiered model with a predictable monthly base fee, plus your usage on top. For a lot of larger organizations, that can make budgeting way, way simpler.
So, we've walked through the three big decisions: the ecosystem, the security approach, and the balance of performance versus price. Let's put it all together now for the final verdict. Which one of these is actually for you? Bottom line, choose AWS CloudFront if your main goal is blasting huge amounts of static content across the world. We're talking video streaming, software downloads, a massive e-commerce site with tons of product images. For that kind of stuff, its raw scale and caching power are really tough to beat. And, well, it's kind of a no-brainer. If you are already all in on the AWS ecosystem, CloudFront is the natural choice. That seamless integration and the free data transfer from services like S3 just make it the path of least resistance. And honestly, it's often the most cost-effective option too. Now, on the flip side, if your company's world revolves around Microsoft and Azure, then Front Door is almost certainly your answer. It was purpose-built to accelerate dynamic, real-time applications and to intelligently route traffic across all your Azure regions. And you should definitely lean towards Front Door if your team values simplicity and having a single place to manage everything. That unified platform is incredibly appealing because it combines all the key pieces into one service, which simplifies not just your architecture, but your billing and your day-to-day operations too. So you see, at the end of the day, this isn't about crowning one of them as the single best CDN in the world. They're both phenomenal services. The right choice is all about your specific context. What's your existing cloud setup? What does your app actually need? What's your team good at? And what's your long-term plan? So I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. Is your CDN choice just a performance hack, or is it a strategic piece of your overall cloud platform? As you make your decision, really ask yourself if it's reinforcing your strategy and making things better, or if it's just adding another layer of complexity. The right answer will be the one that just clicks with your goals. Thanks for tuning in.